All right, Jack. Today I'm teaching you how to catch trout. Step one. Step one is you got to go fishing, Jack. You have to get to the water first. So it's mid-March. We're arriving at the water. Said bridge yonder. It's prime time for the spring steelhead run in the Great Lakes region, at least North Shore Lake Ontario anyway. The Great Lakes span a huge region, so the timing is, cascading across latitudes. Varies by the weather, but the peak is, we're at the end of the peak pretty much. The peak occurs, it depends, but peak is sometime between February-ish, mid-February, late February, depending on the ice, through March. Usually late March is the trout have all vacated the year-round season areas, the lower regions, and you just get suckers after that, around the end of March. Excuse me for the burp. Again, weather dependent, temperatures, rain levels, yada yada, overall populations. And yeah, so mid-March right now, prime time, mental health day. Let's catch some fish. Step one achieved. We've gone fishing. Oh yeah, this water looks nice. A little sloppier than nice, but doable. How's it going? Good morning. So,
Water's a little higher, eh?
a little higher, a little colored, but not unfishable. We can fish this. Any darker, and I would go home.
Yeah.
But this is doable. Yep. Last week was good, and I'm hoping today is also good. Yeah, man. All right. Wish me luck, sir.
Yep.
Thanks, man. Thank you. You as well. All right. Step two, teaching Jack how to catch trout. You get to the water. Step two was look at the water. Look for the color. I'm not going to give all the secrets away, but this is what I call colored water. Anything darker, anything more muddy than this, and I would go home. I can just see the rocks in about 1 foot of water, and I'm losing visibility when I get down to 2 feet of water. So anything more dirty than that, I would just go home. Anything dirtier than that we call chocolate milk, because it looks like chocolate milk. So we've determined, what have we determined? Fishable. Not prime for me. Some people like this the best. Me, I like a little clearer. But that's it. So step one, go fishing. Step two, look at the water, assess. Step three, make sure you got the waders. At the very least, get some nice, good high boots so you can step in, just right there. Right in the edge. But waders are going to give you access. And access is key. Timing is key, number one. Access is key, number two. All right, we're going in. Whoa. Okay. Where to start? We'll start, I know of, okay, now here's the thing. When the water is colored like you see here, you got to know your spots already. It's impossible to explore and understand the river and the riverbed and where the fish holding spots might be when the river is this colored. I mean, not impossible, but much more difficult. You can look at riffles in the water and assume fish are going to use those eddies and whatnot to swim up, and you'd be right, but the problem right now is I don't know how deep that is. If I've never been here before, I don't know if that's 6 inches or 2 feet. So that's the big thing. Go explore your rivers when the water is clear. Know your rocks, your deep runs, yada yada, and that way, when you can't see bottom like today, I at least know where the depth is through here. And in this stretch, I do know where the depth is through here. I know where to fish, and most people, fly fishers especially, will probably drop some casts right in these two rocks here. Knowing the lay of the land, I would not. My attention is going to be a little upstream from there because I know it's deeper water. No way you would know that looking at the water now. I just know that because I've been here in the summertime when water was low and clear. Anyway, that's a good looking spot right now. I'm going to keep walking though. But on a shallow lead with a shallow float, a row bag in there, a pink worm in there, just in that seam of the eddy, just in the edge of the fast water, and then even into the tail out if there's enough depth back here. There isn't because I know the spot, but there might be a fish right in there. But I'm gonna keep walking. I'm not really in the mood for these, so we call that, I call that technical fishing. You know, it's not as easy as just throwing out a float in a pool and just waiting. You have to really adjust and set your depth and set your shot and eliminate shot really, and certain types of floats and certain indication and certain fish behavior to tell you if they're even receptive or not to a bait. Yeah, keep moving. Keep moving. So we're midweek right now. That's why the river's empty. I advise to try and go midweek, Jack. If you go on the weekend, you're going to be fighting shoulder to shoulder with crowds. Not a great place, or you know, a great environment to be for some of your first times and to try and learn. You can learn a lot from watching other guys, so you might want to do that. This looks really good here. This stretch is often overlooked, so I'm going to come up here later. I'm going to hit this later on the way home and explore all these little runs and pockets. Get technical with it. All right, Jack, let's go. Let's fish some pools. We talked about shallow water. Let's do some pool fishing. Okay. Last time I crossed this pool was a little hectic, but what did I have? The water was ice, a lot higher, and I had a hole on my waders, so that made it in toward Aston. Let's see if we can cross this today. Let's see how deep it has gotten. Okay, hard bottom, sending out my downstream foot little by little, testing the bottom, downstream foot little by little. That's my right side right now. Downstream foot little by little, thigh deep right now, thigh deep, downstream foot little by little. Back leg is tripod leg. Back leg is tripod leg. Forgive me, right leg is tripod leg. Downstream leg is tripod leg. Knee deep now, shallowing out. And just inches by inches, nothing big, nothing big. And you gotta get a rhythm too, because you don't wanna be fighting the current too much. When you start fighting it and stopping in position, that's when you fall. That's when you trip and you get caught up by the weight of the water behind you. So you kinda wanna get a rhythm going and just, you know, almost like you're stepping forward. If you're a fighting type dude, if you're stepping forward on your jabs, jab, cross, jab, cross, jab, cross, jab, cross. And that's how we move downstream also. Get the rhythm so you don't get knocked over. When the water is colored like we see here, the fish are generally on the move. This is when they move around. This is when they are comfortable to get out of the pools, move through the riffles and runs, the shallow water, and continue their journey far upstream. So high water, dirty water moves fish around. Use that knowledge how you will. You can, you know, post up at a pool and wait for more fish to come to you. You can move pool to pool, hoping to intercept new fish as they move. Or you can intercept them while they're moving. So you can fish the shallow water, the riffles and runs, the technical stuff that I first talked about, which we're gonna do a little later. Fishing pools is easy. So we're gonna do that first. Why not do the easy thing first? Now, setting the depth of your float to your hook varies spot to spot. Let's talk about that in a second. So here is the first major barrier on this stream. There's all the jobless anglers down there doing their thing. So this right here, this little waterfall, we call this a barrier. And barriers, as the name suggests, are a barrier to travel for the fish. They won't clear this obstacle at will, willy-nilly. I mean, they might, you know, every creature is different, but generally they're gonna run through this stuff more so, especially if it's a larger barrier. They're gonna do it when the water's a little warmer. So when the sun is shining, the water moves up in temperature, you know, up from once the ice goes out, and you give it a few days of some nice good sunshine, some 10 degrees, 15 degrees during the day, and you'll really see them clearing these sort of barriers. Until that happens, you might, you know, you'll get one here, one there that feel like pushing up, have the energy to push up, but generally they won't. They might swim up to it and be turned off by the strength of the water and just go back downstream to the next pool. So be aware of the barriers. Find your barriers, know your barriers, and just know that not many fish are going to clear the barrier when the water is colder, when it's earlier in the season. Give yourself a couple of good days of 10 degrees minimum, and you'll see fish clearing these barriers. I mean, you won't see them, but they'll be clearing these barriers much greater numbers. So about the depth, what was I saying? Yeah. So, I mean, I've seen rules of thumb where they say, what do they say? They say to have your lead always has to be longer than the depth. It has to be, what, some sort of ratio, 2 to 3 ratio, 4 to 3, 4 to 1. I don't know what it is, because I found it to be hogwash, like most rules of thumb. Your depth is what you need, and the depth that you set is going to depend on where the fish are, their attitude, speed of the water, depth of the water, and where the fish are is going to be determined by fishing pressure and water color and water speed. You know, I've caught fish on a 2-foot lead in 6 feet of water. You know, when you're fishing this sort of technical stuff, your lead is, you know, at most the same depth of the water, generally shallower anyway. And sometimes in the really slow pools, yeah, you need to, in a slow 4-foot pool with some weird currents in it, you might need a 6-7 foot leader or length from float to hook. Moral of the story, don't worry about the rule of thumb, just trial and error, listen to the water, see if you're snagging bottom, so on and so forth. All right, we found an open spot here. As you can see, competition is out. I know we have some good depth through here to hold fish, so we're gonna fish it. Okay. And I'm not going to adjust my length right now. I think we're okay for this. I'm going to pay attention to my float. I'm going to talk more about how the float behaves and what that tells me as we fish this spot. I try to get my row landing downstream of the float when I make the cast. Just gives you the perfect initial conditions for a natural drift. Well, other thing I like to do is I like to try and get the row bag into the faster water and the float into the slower water. Let's see if I can show you that right now. One of those, just like that. Just like that. So right now we're fishing the main stream, the main... Hello. Hello, Jack. Jack, that's how it's done, okay? Just like that. So right now we're fishing the main stream there. You can tell by the bubbles, right? That's where it's got a... There's a different name for it, but that's what it is. I got a fish on. My brain's not working. Sometimes you get them in just in the swirls here on the inside. And that was going to be the next spot I was going to cast. Or drift. Yeah, he's shaking. So I'm just holding steady tension on this fish. I'm not horsing him. As you can see, the rod is bent insanity-wise. Maybe that catches it. And the rod is the shock absorber. The rod is doing all the work, well, and my arm holding a rod back. But it's the rod tip bouncing, the rod tip acting like a spring that's tiring the fish out. It's not the drag, it's not the fight. You know, with bass and pike, walleye, muskie, they strike and then they run and they fight the drag, and that's how you handle them. With this one, he's fighting the rod tip and getting tired on the rod tip. And then I just gain line when I can, and I give line when I should. Okay, he's in the faster stream now. He's headed for the wood. There we go. Looks like a nice male. Let's get him. Okay, and see, sometimes like this, I handle the rod sideways. Yeah, it'll give you some different control on the fish sometimes and really help you guide him where you want him to be. We call that the side control. Sometimes you got to give the fish side control when you really want to direct him to where you want him to be. But again, you don't want to break that line. That line is thin. So I'm using for the leader line, I'm using very thin 6-pound. And what they say is once you tie a knot in it, an overhand knot, it breaks at, I think it said 4.9 pounds, just to give you an idea. So an overhand knot, a granny knot, is the worst, weakest knot you can tie. And so they use that as a benchmark for just how weak the line can get on a knot. So your knot strength is, you know, significantly less than your tensile strength. Yeah, I know you're fresh. Joke's on you. Oi, so that's fishing, Jack. Okay. So again, dirty water, hot pink row bag. Set your depth. Sorry, ignore it. I mean, don't ignore completely, but you know, rule of thumb is so people don't have to think. So ignore the, I'm bouncing on my words, but ignore the idea of rule of thumb. Your lead must be longer than the depth. More often than not, my lead is shorter than the depth of the water. And maybe that's why everyone else catches more fish than I do. I don't know. Oh, come on, you fishy. So the problem with a fight going on this long is, you know, that fish is conveying messages to the other fish in the pool. And it's a message of stress and anxiety. Oh, that's a good one. And so that can turn the other fish off in the pool. But this is a good big fish, so I'm not going to horse it. I'm happy to let the other fish be turned off to get this one in. And you can always rest the pool, right? If the fish are spooked now, give them an hour, rest the pool, and then fish them again. You can stay at the pool and, you know, have lunch, you know, whatever. Catch up on Instagram and Reddit, and then that's it. Now landing. Okay, so landing, as you see, fight, and I try to direct the fish into some nice shallow water, some nice shallow gravelly water if I can, where his gills aren't going to get muddy. And when he's sideways, they usually tire out. But we're going downstream now. This is getting bad now, Jack. Going downstream into the wood. Okay, because I took too long fighting, that's why. So I'm guiding with side control, keeping the fish out of the wood. I'm wearing waders, so I'm good. I know you have waders, Jack, so you'll be good too. I know the water, so I know it's safe to follow the fish through here. So don't go doing this if you don't know the water. Fish is not worth your life. Right there, that's a good one. That's a good one. Right here will be fantastic. Right here is fantastic. Right there is good. Almost. Almost. And there it is. Look at that, Jack. That's a nice one, huh? Let's get this way. Let's go Suchley. GoPro really doesn't do justice, but that's fine. I'm not out here for justice. I'm out here to catch fish. Okay, let's do right in the schnoz. You see that? Let's get it better. Right in the schnoz. There it is. Oh yeah. How about that, Jack? That's a good one. So that's a lamprey mark right there. Lamprey, big ass ocean leech. Stuck onto the fish. Ate a bunch of its blood and fluids. And the hardy fish healed. Fantastic. Oh yeah. Here's the other side. Hard to get good footage on the GoPro. Anyway, there it is. And we're off. Yeah, yeah. Very good, very good. Mr. Jack, we have an audience. Hello, hello. Oh. Say again?
Let them fight another day.
That's it, exactly. Small ones, good for eating.
Yeah, but somebody will catch it, you gotta eat it.
That's true. That's, I can't stop that. Have a good day. So there it is, Jack. So Jack, my main line, this line here on my reel is 10 pound. Okay, I'm running 10 pound main line. And the float is on the main line. Okay. Oi. The float is on the 10 pound main line. My split shot are on the 10 pound main line. And then my 10 pound main line ends at a swivel. And then I tie my 6 pound leader. For sure there's fish here. The question is, have they all been hooked already today? That's really what steelheading is about. This type of trout fishing is, I mean, the fish are easy to catch when they first come in. So if you're here when they first come in, it's easy peasy. What you're really doing is you're really battling other fishermen. You're trying to get out before they do. You know, that's why we're out here during the week. And you're trying to outsmart the other anglers by fishing where they aren't, or, you know, developing a strategy of running and gunning or sitting and waiting, depending on whatever you feel is appropriate. So oftentimes, and why did I start talking about this? Because of the fishing pressure, that's right. So once the trout have been starting to get caught and hooked and fight, you know, they're still present, they're still in front of you, they're still in the pool, but they just don't bite at all. And so it's not that your presentation is wrong, it's not that you're not a good fisherman, it's not that, you know, your bait is bad or the float is wrong or the hook is too big. It's not any of that stuff. It's just that the fish have already been caught that day and they're not going to bite again most times, 9 times out of 10. Some of them do, but most times they don't. So just understand that. Don't get discouraged, I suppose. And again, either try to go during the week or you learn the river, you know, you really understand the river during low flow in the summertime. And then when you go on the weekend and it's shoulder to shoulder, you know what spot to be at. you know what spot's good, and you'd be like, oh, that was finally a fish. Eat it again. I was yapping. That's what happens when you're yapping. You lose the fish, get a slapping.